Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and the man you see on the screen right now is Kevin Williamson, a conservative pundit, and not the writer of the famed Scream series. Kevin recently came to the news when he was fired from The Atlantic because, well, of some things he had said. Now, I am pulling this from a Huffington Post article, and the reason why is because I want to show you the implicit bias from the left-leaning media that is that one of the reasons that prompted Kevin Williamson here to be fired from his job. Now, it says here that in an email to his staff on Thursday afternoon, The Atlantic's editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg announced that recently hired opinion columnist Kevin Williamson was fired after Goldberg realized that Williamson did in fact believe his own words that women should be hanged for having abortions. Now, don't get me wrong. That's an abhorrent, terrible, shitty opinion to have. It is. It actually very much is. And no amount of explaining it away is going to change that in my mind. However, it's his opinion. It's his opinion. It's what he thinks should happen. It's not advocating for it. He's not trying to create legislation in order to bring back hanging of women who get abortions, but that's his opinion. And the thing is, the people who hired him had to have known that he held these kind of opinions. But this is The Atlantic. They're trying to bring in an opinion columnist that is going to be able to, maybe kind of shake things up a bit. And there was already a big thing when he was hired recently. People were going after The Atlantic like crazy over it, and they stood by him at first, which was refreshing in my opinion. Simply because, well, you want there to be different viewpoints, different voices. And while I do not agree with probably anything this man says, he has a right under the First Amendment, protected by our Constitution and by the Supreme Court, to have his opinion. And if it's not impacting his job, then he shouldn't be fired for having it, regardless of how crappy it is. And this is one of the things where I will probably piss off some people, and I'm okay with that. I fervently believe in protecting free speech and that your opinion should not cost you your job. I believe that. I always get mad when people get fired over crap that they say. If it's not impacting their work, then there's that. But at the same time, companies have a right to fire whoever they want, and customers can buy from whoever they want. It just sucks that the number one go-to is always someone's livelihood, right? Because getting them fired and making them angry are really going to change their ways, their views, their opinions. Good on you for that one. All you do is make them more popular and a martyr in their fans' eyes, by the way. Earlier Thursday, a company-wide event had scheduled in which Atlantic editor Adrienne LaFrance was set to interview Williamson in front of staff, according to several Atlantic employees, but the meeting was canceled at the last minute. Goldberg announced Williamson's firing just hours later, though a similar interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates was scheduled for Friday appears to be going on as planned, and that's a whole other thing. Ta-Nehisi Coates or Coates, whatever, is not a. You can find comments from this person that are going to be maybe not as bad as what Kevin Williamson here has said, but questionable too. The news just comes after weeks that Atlantic announced Williamson's hiring, which immediately sparked an uproar from people concerned about the publication was giving space to a man who compared a 9-year-old black child to a primate, and now most famously said that women who get abortions should be hanged. Now here's the tweet in context, and it's from September of 2014, long time ago. This is the whole thing. People dig through your past, everything that you've ever said, they will find a way to use against you. So it always, social media is a hell of a thing. Now, woman says here, or Isaac in real life says here, have abortions without getting parole. If your answer is to either question is no, you don't think abortion is murder. He responds back with, I have hanging more in mind. Now, when it comes to dealing with hardcore conservatives, they really dislike the idea of abortion, right? They really hate the idea of that whole thing. Protect the fetus, protect the fetus. But as soon as it's born, get a job, you hippie. It's what it feels like to me, at least. And I haven't really seen anything to kind of like counter that yet. Anyway, it wasn't until Media Matters report on Wednesday, which found that Williamson had defended the sentiment on a podcast, that Goldberg decided to take Williams' remarks seriously. Again, his opinion, right? Like everyone out there has shit opinions. Trust me, I have shit opinions. I'm fully aware of that. People love to remind me of it too, but it's, we all got shit opinions. But that being said, it's his opinion. if it doesn't impact his job and he's not using his column to advocate for changing of laws to, you know, to bring women who've gotten abortions in front of a firing squad, then just let him have his damn opinion. And then just, you know, like you can't shake things up without you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs is the best metaphor I can use here. Right. So it says here, Goldberg says, I have disagreed with him on more than I've agreed with him. But I recognize the power, contrarianness, wit, and smart construction of many of his pieces. He also took care to note that Williamson was prolific, which is certainly true. And if you're trying to bring in someone like that, if you're bringing in a person who is got a contrarian nature about him, is very witty, has a smart construction with his pieces, and is prolific, and you're kind of sucking him off a little bit that way, is because you want to bring in the type of numbers his type of content will do based upon the controversies he will in fact create. The Atlantic was trying to create themselves a situation in which they would bring in a prolific writer to create content that would be considered controversial, a little too hot to handle, piss off the SJWs, the progressive leftists, and then get them to go over there and hate watch him. At that point, triggering a response from right-wing supporters, which would then go there to support him. And at the end of the day, what does it translate into? Oh, clicks and ad revenue. It's almost like it's a smart play. But the editor-in-chief Goldberg here, he wussed out. He did. He really did. It says, among the body of prolific writing, full of wit and smart constructions, is a piece that notes that there is something maddeningly sexy about a woman enforcing rules, and something sexually repugnant about a woman without any rules at all. So the dude likes to be dominated. Women read 50 Shades of Grey. That's how I would summarize all of that right there. There's also the article titled Like a Boss, which claims from an evolutionary point of view, Mitt Romney should get 100% of the female vote, all of it. He should get Michelle Obama's vote. You can insert your Mormon polygamy joke here, but all the ladies tend to flock to successful executives and entrepreneurs. And here's the thing with that. Translate that Mitt Romney to Donald Trump, and he is correct. He is correct. The largest voting demographic for Donald John Trump in the presidential election of 2016 were women, white women. And people flocked to him because he's a successful entrepreneur and executive. Whether or not the businesses have all lasted, which let's face it, not a lot of them have, that's one of the reasons right there. So yes, if you want to sit there and argue that Kevin Williamson was being prolific in his writing, he just had the wrong candidate. But if he wrote that back in 2012, it happened 4 years later, just with somebody else. So yes, that's part of the wit. That's part of the prolific nature of it. And basically Huffington Post here, if you look at like the broader context of presidential elections then and now, yeah, they basically proved why he was hired to the Atlantic and everything else. Don't get me wrong, his opinion on abortion is pretty freaking abhorrent. I still want to make sure that's abundantly clear. I just want to put that out there. Now, why Goldberg was unable to determine, based on his extensive body of work, that Williamson very much believed all the things he had written down for years remains unclear. It's because he doesn't care. When you bring in someone like Williamson, you want that person to bring you as much money and clicks and views that you can. He is a person designed to be a pundit. He is a person designed for controversy. Look at him. He looks like the bad guy from Red Alert 2, just with a larger beard. Hey, what do you know? Kane got a job as a pundit opinion columnist. There's that. That's what he was. That's the whole point. That's what it was designed. And like I said, you cannot sit there and want the type of attention someone like him will bring to the table unless you are willing to break a few eggs. And that's why I find this whole thing to be extremely damn funny, in my opinion. Because it just goes to show you precisely that the left is completely unable to understand why these things need to happen in terms of business. And here's the deal. Or here's the thing. He may have repugnant viewpoints, but bringing him in and trying to foster a discussion might actually lead to some kind of change. Might actually lead to him looking at other people around him, what they write, and taking that to heart. And maybe they look at what he writes and they take that to heart. But as I've always pointed out, we're in this very tribalistic point of our society where people don't want to ever cross the aisle and have a conversation. They want to rescind back to their echo chambers. And I get it. I do. I understand it. I also just find it really damn funny because all of this shit could easily be fixed if people were just probably willing to have more of a conversation. And that is something even in my own personal life I need to work on better too. But, you know, hopefully something about this will spark a conversation with somebody, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be a little better off. But anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. I will talk to you guys later. Be sure to leave a thumbs up and to comment and to subscribe and click that bell, and have yourself a great day, and peace out. What you just saw was a shorter clip from a longer show. The Rustled Podcast airs every Sunday through Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard on rustled.net. Please consider subscribing to the channel as well as 3 Buck Theater and potentially becoming one of our sponsors at patreon.com/mundanemat. Thank you and have a great day.